that reference.
Guys, I got to tell you how much fun it is to work with you fellas. I just absolutely love this. Who knew that we'd be doing this a few years back? This is a lot of fun.
It's very much fun.
And look at all the wonderful friends that we've made. They've all got our back. I know that. Where's this microphone? And Denny Yelsma gives us these beautiful, beautiful shirts to wear.
Yeah, yes, he does.
It's awesome.
Very nice.
What do we got tonight? Number 170.
170.
I'll put on headphones to monitor sound, like I always like to do. All right, let's do this.
Yes, we do.
Mitchell Vafoden's running camera tonight.
Rock and roll.
Mitchell, go ahead and give us a countdown, and let's have some fun tonight.
3, 2.
The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you.
These are anyway.
Further support is provided by Microengineering, keeping you on track with quality products for 55 years. Check out their website at www.microengineering.com. Order from your local dealer or order direct by calling 1-800-462-6975. And by Intermountain Railway Company, where the detail makes the difference. Check out their website at intermountain-railway.com. Additional support is provided by Spring Creek Model Trains, your destination for model trains. Stop in and say, wow. Check out their website at springcreekmodeltrains.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week video podcast. Best hobby in the world, I always like to say. Show number 170 for September 18th, 2021. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of that What's Neat show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. That's the show where we get our hands dirty every month and build stuff and interview people and look at layouts. It's really a fun show and very different from this show that we do here, where it's all about the people and what's new on the market. And look at the cool models we have on the table tonight. There's some really neat stuff here. Tonight I've got with me Mike Budde.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Mike. Glad you're here tonight. Also, I've got sitting next to me Joshua Barton.
What up?
It's all good, buddy. And Steve Mantia from Target Electric. Hey, Steve.
Hello. Thank you very much.
I love that shirt you're wearing.
It's a very nice shirt, yes.
Thank you very much, Denny Yelsma, for that shirt and the one.
My
I'm
dad
wearing.
wants his shirt now. So.
That's great. It was a beautiful night tonight. It's a full moon out there, and I had Mitchell and Austin and Jeff and his kids were out there having a picnic at the picnic table underneath the umbrella. It was really beautiful out there to see them having fun and hanging out tonight. The weather here in St. Louis is just getting perfect. It's fall, and we know that. It's awesome. Now, I want to talk about something very interesting that I saw on the river. For the very first time, I've seen a cruise ship on the river, and this is very unusual in the fact that I'm normally seeing paddle wheel steamers and barges and, freight for profit and traffic like that. But this was a cruise ship made by a company called American Cruise Lines. And it was the American Melody, an absolutely beautiful ship. The wind, there was a storm coming on right when the ship was coming by, and I filmed it. And I thought this would be an interesting model that somebody could make and actually put on their layout. This ship was built in 2021. She's brand new, and she's part of a fleet of 5 that this company has. They go up and down the Mississippi River. They've got various size cruise trips that they do. You can check out their website at American Cruise Lines. $4,900 to board this ship and enjoy yourself on a cruise. Wow. Absolutely amazing. But it would be a great model to build for your layout. Even if you scaled it down, it would be fascinating. The front bow of this ship opens because you've got to figure along the Mississippi River, they don't have docks. So the only way to get off and on a ship like that is they point the front of the ship, the bow, right at the bank, and they let up the nose, and they have a gangplank that comes out. Absolutely a fascinating design. I wanted to share that with everybody out there. I want to give a shout out to Boyd Rays. I met him this week on the phone. He's an amazing painter. He does a lot of painting for Coach Yard, for Fred, our friend out there at Coach Yard. We love him. But he will be on the show October 23rd, and I look forward to that. I used to be an avid brass collector, and I also myself was very good at painting. Thank you, Jim Napoli, for teaching me that art. Whereas you would sandblast the models with 220 grit aluminum oxide, drop them in an ultrasonic cleaner, and then use scale coat paint thinned down to make an absolutely perfect finish, and then decal them out, and then clear coat it. I really used to love that, but then once plastic started getting to be so detailed, I kind of got out of brass. So, I mean, right? Mike, you've got some cool models on the table. Let's start out and talk about what you've got tonight.
Well, I haven't really been doing too much since the show, but so I decided to bring some old stuff from the past. This high cube boxcar in the Mopac maintenance away truck was from the December 1997 issue of Rail Model Journal. It was on the cover, and it was a great feeling to have my model on the cover, because some people actually accused us of using a real rail car behind that truck.
That is true.
Because of the motion. But the way you achieved that was you tied a rock to a string, to a coupler, and then let the rock go and pull, so it would pull the train car by when you were shooting the shutter. Everything was mechanical back then. So
it was a great
anyway.
blur shot effect. It made it look like the freight car was moving.
Yeah.
And we did a cover. It was for Bob Schleicher over at Rail Model
Right.
Journal. We've already shown the photograph to you. I've also got some outtake shots that I know I can show you of that freight car. And then the truck you put in front of the freight car was a...
that's a CNC soft metal castings Chevy C60, not from 1974. The model's actually from like 1975. That's where the cab and frame came from. The bed is a modified Walters one with the crane, and I just put a bunch of, junk and tools and stuff in the back there. I never really finished the back. I wanted to put a vise on it, but got involved in some other project instead. So.
We've got that shot hanging up on the wall down here, and the one thing that did make that shot pop, not only was the moving of the boxcar to create the illusion of movement of the train moving, but we had a guy with a hard hat standing there right in front of the freight car and the truck, as if he was doing a visual run-by inspection of the train,
Yeah.
which is very common on railroads.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a great cover. That's my favorite one that you've done.
That's awesome. We've done a lot of good ones, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a show just on the photography that
Yeah.
we've done through the years, on just the covers alone. There are over 8,500 photographs in my computer, and I'm telling you what, it's the best job in the world that you get to do model photography for the model manufacturers out there. It's a lot of fun. It's stimulating, and sometimes it's a challenge.
This other little truck I brought was a Bush 53, I believe, 1953 Chevy truck, and I wanted to make it look real faded and old, so I got a black truck, then I sprayed it in primer, then I sprayed red over that and used a sandblaster to, take off the layers of paint until it got the way that I wanted it to look, and then
That's awesome.
replaced the headlights with MV lenses. That was a trick I learned from you to really add to the realism of vehicles.
I used to do that to all the original first Bachmann photography shots that I used to do back in the late 90s, whereas I would literally put MV lenses into the locomotives to just make the headlight pop in the
Right.
sunlight. There was a lot of times that they didn't really want me to do that because they created the model to look
Yeah,
the way it was supposed to look.
right, yeah.
But sometimes it added so much more when you got that sun reflection off of the headlight like that. It just looked very realistic. This was before LEDs, where we actually didn't power up the shots outside and light them up. With a lot of Athearn photography now, and if you do your photographs outside with models with LEDs in them, they're actually brighter than the sun when you actually set them up outside, and they really do pop.
Yeah.
We didn't have that advantage back then, and that's kind of cool. I want to say that the September 2021 What's Neat is coming out. That should be out at the time that you see this podcast on YouTube. Gary Gross has the Frisco. It's a triple deck layout. He calls it the Franklin and Pacific Railroad, and that layout will be on tour at the NMRA National this summer, NMRA 2022 show. I look forward to that. Also in that video, I show you how to make grass tufts. We're all familiar with sill floor, and if you put a lot of sill floor weeds on your layout, you can package that's like $22. You can spend a fortune on weeds, which is what I try to get rid of in the yard. But in this case, we used various types of glue, 4 different kinds of glue, and we put the glue onto wax paper, and then we hit it with 4 different sizes of nap, static grass, in order to create the tufts themselves. It's a very interesting how-to video, whereas you really don't know at the beginning until the end of what actually works. I like doing it that way whenever I make a lot of how-to videos, whereas we try different things to actually find out what really works live as we're shooting the show, and at the end, I find out what works the best. It's kind of fun when we do it that way. I want to say Spring Creek Model Trains, y'all were familiar with the train show that they have every 2 years in Deshler, Nebraska. Mike, Budde, and I went out there and did a show with them, and that was a lot of fun. What year was that? 2019.
I think it was 2019, yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. It's a very intimate show. A lot of manufacturers get together and conduct business at that show because, as you know, Deshler, Nebraska doesn't have very much of a population. They've got a few cows, too. But it's an amazing place. But Dave, Mike, and Deb, Zucker, and Jeff, they run a great store out there. They've got a lot of great merchandise, and they have a fantastic website, springcreekmodeltrains.com. They strive to keep the store location well stocked and also work to set up at train shows all around the country.
Amazing.
It's a family-owned business for over 20 years. They truly do have a passion for the hobby and their customers. Their website, springcreekmodeltrains.com, is continually being updated, and the additional products you need to build a great model railroad will always be there. Mike, tell me what you thought of the store when you went out there for the very first time.
Well, you know, I wasn't expecting much from a small town in Nebraska, you know, but wow, I was really wrong. It was amazing. Long aisles full of rolling stock, kind of the way the old hobby shops used to be, but this was even bigger.
It was. It was an amazing amount of
I think it's
stock.
an old grocery store. I'm not sure, but
Really?
He had, and then the back wall was all vehicles, just all trucks and trailers and
I've
containers.
never been there, but I've been on their website, and they got everything you
Right.
could think of.
There
on
were,
there.
It
there
is.
were
It's-
so many containers on this wall, every type, every name. I had no idea that there were that many shipping companies out there. It
Right.
was absolutely amazing. And we all know, I will tell you, the price of containers. Generally, a 20-foot container from China was at about $6,000 dropped off at your dock. And with the way things are going and the shortages that we're having due to COVID, I can tell you that those containers right now dropped at your dock are right at $18,000. And all these model companies that we all love are all going to have to absorb that and or increase the prices of their things. It's just kind of part of what's going on in our economy right now. There's a lot of things like that that are affecting companies, and something that we've never talked about on this show, but it's readily apparent to you because you've seen it in the news with regards to the automobile manufacturers out there stacking freight cars, locomotives, stacking up vehicles in parking lots because they simply don't have the chips for the computer systems that now run today's cars. There's 200,000 or 300,000 vehicles out there that are unable to be produced because of that. And that is starting to affect our hobby as well. It's not a bad thing, but I would say that if you're going to do your Christmas shopping, it might be good to do it now.
It's not just in our hobby, it's everywhere. It's in
everywhere,
the restaurant industry with my products. I'm having to sub out different things and I can't find stuff. I don't even have lids for cups right now.
Is that right?
Because no one is manufacturing them.
Man.
I couldn't get cornstarch for like 3 months because there was a shortage on them making cornstarch. So it's just nuts everywhere.
It is amazing.
Steve Mantia is here tonight, and you've got some really cool models on the table, and I do know the history of one of them, but why don't you tell us what you brought tonight, Steve?
Okay, like when I was on the show a little while back of bringing the Halloween cars in that I have, unusual things always jump out to me, and this one fits in that mold right in there perfect. That you've got the New York Central rocket-powered Budde car. And what I like is you put it on the rails and it just sounds like it's a jet airplane because that's what it is. The old surplus B-36 engines that they put on it to try to get faster rail travel in the early 60s and that.
Finally, a model that looks realistic.
Yeah.
At scale speed.
Yeah, it's just, I just thought looking for something different that stands out, one of my favorite pieces, I thought I would bring it here and show it off.
And you said that model has sound in it?
Yes, it does. It has that when it powers up. It has that like the jet, the rocket sound that's going there, and as it goes down the thing, it just like
Nice.
I can't do it justice, but it works out very nice in that. So
Now, would both of these cars, both these Budde cars run in the same consist together? Would this one be in the front? and
yeah,
the
that
other
would
one
be in the
rear?
front. You just would put the car right behind there and going down the tracks with it. I tool it around there. Something else to, You can only run one locomotive at a time, but it's still you can run this
Yeah.
one for a while and
Yeah.
then go try to do something else. So
I've got an old VHS Green Frog tape from about the New York Central, and it's got a video of this thing, man. And it's, yeah, like you said, the engines get louder and louder like a jet,
yes,
jet engine.
and
And man, it just flies down the track. I think they went 180 miles an
that's
hour.
it. When I looked in the book here just to verify stuff, it went to 183 miles an hour. It set a speed record at the time.
But it
in
never,
the
they
60s.
never really used it.
No, they didn't. It was
just more of a test
It
than
was a test
anything.
to see what they can do
Yeah.
and try to stay alive with certain high-speed travel and that. So
Of all the scale models that we've had on the show, obviously we've had N scale, we've had G scale, HON3, ON30, so many different scales, and microengineering obviously makes track for all of those scales. I stopped down there this week, on Wednesday it was, to visit with them just to see how things are going, and that place is buzzing. It's just constant activity as they're cranking out track. It's like Santa's workshop. But that track is unarguably some of the most beautiful track in the hobby, and that is what I use for all of my photographs when I do photos for the manufacturers, because it just makes my photographs look that much better. A question I'd like to pose to y'all tonight, since we have had so many different scales, Mike and Joshua and Steve, and I'd like to ask Mitchell too as well, if you were to start all over again today in the hobby, I'd like to know what readers' comments think about this as well. Would you pick a different scale than what you already model now? Would you actually have a different idea on scale?
The N scale nowadays is really tempting. And I know our friend Walker Embry that's up in Oregon, he built this fantastic N scale layout. I mean, you couldn't tell what scale it was in photographs. And now he's working on another one. So, yeah, I think I might strongly consider N scale.
Really?
Yeah.
You could fit so much more in your basement,
Right,
couldn't you?
right.
And after building that N-scale building in the past 3 months, did that kind of sway your opinion, or is this something you've thought about for a long time?
Well, I've thought about it for a long time, just because of the space saving. But as everybody knows, my big thing is auto racks, and I just could not get the detail and N scale that I wanted to on the auto carriers. So that's why I've stuck with that with HO over the years. Mainly.
Now, would you still model Frisco, or would you pick another road name?
Oh, I'd probably still do Frisco,
Okay.
Mopac, Katy.
Joshua, what do you think about that?
I started out in N scale. I really liked it, but I couldn't find the same things and the mass amounts of extras and scenic little things that I can in HO, and that's the reason that I changed. If I had to do it over again, I think I would maybe go with O scale, but 2 rail.
Right.
I
Yeah.
like, that so much more detail you can put into
Right.
it, and so much more hands-on stuff. I'm getting to the point where I have to wear glasses all the time,
Yeah.
and HO is a little small,
You just took all my lines.
Sorry.
That was everything I was going to say. What do you think about that, Steve? I know you've got Lionel, and you also have HO scale that you model with your father.
Yeah, see, that's why I get the best of both worlds. I've grown up with HO, so I can always watch Dad runs his or operate that. So many people say I do so many things just like my father. So I like to try to be a little different and go with O scale. But if Glenda was here, now she likes the G scale because she likes the size and all the rest of it.
Right.
Because once she's seen that now, it's just boom, sitting on the table, sitting anywhere. So she sort of likes that. So I would be in the middle of 3 different scales
Yeah.
if I went to that. But N scale, I have the same thing. As we get older, I just think it's a little too small to see in that.
That's cool. I'm going to tell you what, that I have seen some amazing layouts. When I went out to Caboose out in Lakewood, Colorado, Kevin Rubel took me around to 28 layouts in 7 days, of which I did 28 interviews. And I saw a lot of amazing layouts. The Fall River Division layout.
Is that John Parker?
John Parker's layout.
Yes, that was
Let's
one
talk about that, because I've got some amazing video footage in my computer that I want to run as we talk about this. He's got one of the most astute layouts, if that's the correct word for it. It's freelance prototype, BNSF, but the scenery is absolutely magnificent. The very first time I walked into that layout, I actually got lost because it's a maze, and I couldn't find out where everybody else was that I came with.
But you didn't care
I
either, did you?
didn't care. It was so beautiful. The scenery was accurate, the main lines, the profile of the track work, all of the buildings and the structures were all lit. I recall the grain elevator that was lit up with all of these LEDs. It looked great in daylight, in the lighting, regular lighting in the room. And then he had these blue lights that he would turn on to create the nighttime effect. And this grain elevator looked absolutely fantastic in this video clip I'm running, as you see Kevin Rubel looking at it up close. It was an absolutely amazing experience. Thank you, Kevin, for taking me to all of those layouts, because it allowed me to see so many different scales. The one scale was FN3, what they call it. I think that's 20, that's Bachmann's scale. What you see up here on the shelf is K27, and these larger locomotives that run in the backyard. I think that's called 120.3 scale, if I'm correct on that. And that is an amazing scale when you model it indoors. Now I realize it's large, but effectively you're creating a diorama that can be super detailed. And there's so many 3D printed parts and so many figures and buildings are available in that scale. Plus, scratch building in that scale is so easy because, like Joshua said, you can see what you're doing.
Right.
I'm with Joshua on the fact that I think if I were starting all over today from scratch, I would go with O-Scale 2-rail. I've seen some magnificent brass steam engines in that scale, and a lot of beautiful models. Atlas makes great models. MTH, I believe, makes a lot of great models. And I wouldn't really differentiate that much. I wouldn't be too picky whether it's 3-rail or 2-rail, because Lionel and MTH both have made such amazing looking detailed models, as you saw last week from that big boy locomotive that Steve Mantia had on. In fact, that was 2 weeks ago on that show.
Yes, yes.
Wow, that was
Very
a good
nice.
interview with that gentleman, Ed.
Yes.
Ed Dickens from the Union Pacific Steam Program. If you guys haven't seen that, roll back 2 videos back from today and check it out. Thank you very much for the time that he gave us. But we asked him a question that I thought was pertinent to us modelers, and that is, tell me about your passion for modeling. And yes, he was a model railroader, and he had a good answer for that. I thought that was really great. I want to talk about something from Intermountain. Intermountain is now coming out with a new run of bi-level N-scale auto racks, and this is N-scale. And these models are absolutely beautiful. They're on the water, soon to be here, and you can look at them on the Intermountain website at intermountainrailways.com. I've got 2 of them here that I'm going to show tonight. I've got a Union Pacific N-scale auto rack that I shot outside in real sunlight. I shot a top shot and a side shot of it. And I also have a CP rail auto rack that I had photographed for them outside. They have see-through screens on them. So you could actually literally put a load in there, and the silhouette of the load you'd be able to see through.
In N scale?
It is an N scale.
Man.
The doors and everything, all the details beautiful. I held one of the models up to the sunlight so I can illustrate the fact that you can in fact see through the model. So it's absolutely beautiful what they're coming out with. And I love the HO scale ones that we have running down here around the basement. I gave the 2 N scale auto racks that you just saw right now in these photographs to our friend Dan Michio out there at TCS. He's an avid N-scale modeler, and when he came here and visited with us in January, he kept looking at those. And I thought, you know what, I just want to make him smile.
Yeah.
So I did it. Those are the only 2 Intermountain models that I've ever let leave the basement, because it's not something that you normally do. Once they send you the models, you've usually got to keep them in the event that they may want future photography of them. And plus, a lot of times you don't have permission. They're not my models. They still belong to the company when I receive them. So what else do we have on the list? The June 2021 What's Neat. That's a few months back. That was a video that featured my layout. And it goes back to, all the way back to 2007, I believe, or maybe it was 2002. Yes, it was, when I started this layout, because that's when Phil Wathers came out and visited with me here in the studios, and I wanted to have something impressive, and so what I had was 1x4s running around the outside walls. Boy, has it changed from simple 1x4s. We've created a layout that has lift-out sections built on tabletops, all stained to match the theme of the basement, and every one of the modules are easily interchanged with another module, so I can easily change either the theme of the module and or the season of each module, and I can also take them outside and photograph them. When that video ran, one question in readers' comments in that June 2021 What's Neat video was, how do you have these modules connected together? I don't. They're just sitting together. The weight of gravity holds them in place. I've got 3-inch rail joiners between. What I'm saying is I got 3-inch pieces of rail between each module, so that in the event something shifts, you don't end up ripping up your track sideways. There's a little bit of flex there, and as you guys all know, that does work. The only downside to that is I use N-scale rail joiners with the code 83 and code 70 track that runs around the 152 feet of main line that I've got. And over time, those rail joiners get a little loosey, and they tend to sometimes come apart. So you've always got to, about every 6 months, replace all of the N-scale Atlas rail joiners on this layout. But it's a very effective way to build a layout, whereas it's not permanent. You can change out anything anytime you want. And I also take these modules outside and do commercial photography on them for the various manufacturers, whereas I don't have to scratch build a scene every time I get a job. I can simply take it out, do a photo shoot, show it to them, email back and forth, and literally if there's any changes to be made on the photograph, we could change it in 10 minutes and have the final product to them. Way different than 15 years ago when I was shooting slides. And I was using Velvia slide film, 18 bucks a roll. You'd bracket 3 pictures to get the right exposure.
Right.
You'd wait 3 days for developing before you had to even know if you had to do a reshoot or not. The word back then was patience. The word now is efficiency, and I really like the way that looks. So check it out. That video's got over 46,000 views. Thank you so much. There's 137 readers' comments, and yes, I've read all of your comments and tried to answer every one of them that people ask questions about, including the question about how do I hold these modules together. So the rock and roll. Thanks for watching that show. That's really cool. What else do we have, gentlemen? Crickets. Where's that thing that Campbell Rice brought? What was that? A cicada?
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of fun when he did that to us. None of us had a clue that that was about to happen.
Some of us did.
Is that right?
The audience.
That's Mitchell Bufoden's voice out there you're hearing. He's running camera for us tonight. Daniel couldn't come out here. James Regier's outside doing homework on his laptop along with Austin Allard, enjoying that beautiful full moon out there. And I think we should all join them. What do you think?
That's right.
All right,
so.
let's go.
This is the best hobby in the world with some of the best people in it. We're going to have a special show next week. Next week's show was already pre-recorded, and in fact, this coming up Wednesday, I will finish the edit on that. Whereas all the principals that are putting on and organizing the NMRA 2022 show this summer are all getting together and planning that show. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening, a lot of layout tours, oh God, this is going to be so amazing. This is going to be similar to what we just experienced with the RPM show, except for, as you well know, an NMRA show is so much bigger. It's going to be held in Collinsville, Illinois, and I believe they're going to take up the entire convention center over there with that. But next week's show will be just a taste of what's to come as the NMRA announces a lot of the things coming up, a lot of the special features, and registration for that show is starting now. And that's what next week's show will be all about. So with that, gentlemen, we've got Mike Budde, Steve Mantia, my favorite Joshua Barton sitting next to me. Thank you for running camera, Mitchell. I'm Ken Patterson. And at this point, gentlemen, let's take our NCE Power Cab system and let's go run some trains.
That
All
sounds
right.
good.
Right. Thank you.
Thumbnail?
Yes. How do you want to do it this time?
I don't know. Let's just wait.
That was great on last week's show where you asked that question.
That was wonderful.
I like the way that worked. It's so much fun that everybody knows we're just people. We're human. And we're easy to get along with, right?
That's exactly why.
I hope the folks,
Yeah.
I think we should plan a trip to Spring Creek. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
So that's Lombard Hobbies we need to go to and Spring Creek. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good to me, man.
All right,
I'm
guys.
all for it.
Let's show them
What's
some
neat
teeth.
this week road trip?
Let's show them some teeth and get the thumbnail. Ready? All right, guys. Kill cameras, kill sound. That's number 170.
That's great.
No, rock and roll.
Rock. Oh, by the way, I stick with HO.
Yeah.
As someone who has